Hello and welcome back to this edition of Daily Actives brought to you by Bootleg Macro. I'm Dustin. We are going to be looking at NVIDIA today, who was down 2.18%. Now, I would consider that to be bad, except for the fact that we look at the 5-day, the 15-day, the 1 month, and specifically the 3 month here, which is the 60 days. We're incredibly positive. We're up 34% over the past 3 months. That is incredibly positive. If we're looking at the 6 months, we're up over 60%. If we're looking up over 1 year, it's over 244%. There's nothing to be concerned about. If anything, what we're going to be seeing here is a little bit of regular and very much needed consolidation inside of NVIDIA. The top of the range right now is at 150. I'd love to see it because if we're at 150, that means that we are seeing higher highs in the range. And to me, that's the most bullish thing that you could check for. I do see the action line is here at 124, and we can go all the way down to 120. We look at the raw data, one of the things that really jumps out at me is that we've essentially been at the top or above 3 standard deviations above the 23-day moving average for almost an entire month. It's been 20 actual days. It's been from the 3rd to the 23rd. Obviously, there's trading days versus weekends. Don't at me. But if we're looking at where the price actually is, we are still essentially right above, we're right now below the 5-day moving average, but the 5-day moving average is now above the 23-day moving average. And we're still very well above the 20-day moving average. It looks like we are $9 above, which I actually really appreciate. We are $9.78. Now, one of the things I want to point out, I haven't covered this in any of my previous videos. This is a rolling return based off of where the price is to the 23-day moving average. You can see here, we were at $16.55 above the 20-30 moving average just a couple of days ago. The highest that we've seen in the most recent look back in August was $17.78. Of course, we're going to see some mean reversion. Now, maybe we're not going to necessarily hit that $130 because the price is going to move up on that moving average, but we definitely could consolidate in the middle 130s for a little bit and just kind of hang out as the price kind of digests some of the moves that we've seen. I'll be looking to see if we get a negative on the 5-day rolling or on the 15-day rolling. As soon as that starts to flip back positive, very similar to what you see here in the 3 month when it starts to flip back positive at that 132. That was a great signal. I like to see that kind of stuff. Now, if we're looking at the overall signals, we have been go long for quite a while here. Again, if we're looking at when we got at least two confirming go longs, that's when we look back on the night on the 26th of September. If we look at we've been bullish essentially in the long term since the 7th of October. If we go ahead and look at where we are in the terms of the rising bull, one of the things that I love is to see is just like a changing in sentiment. This is really much more of a rate of change indicator in terms of the indicators that we've already looked at. I'd love to see it. If I'm going to say that there's one thing that actually makes me the most bullish, though, and I'm going to be very honest, it's going to be when I see higher highs and higher lows inside of a risk range. So if I look at this here, so I'm pulling up something that I've built as well, and I built this because the Google data, if you've watched any of my videos, is not great, but this is essentially the distilled version down of what I'd really care about. So what I'm looking at here is you can see that we've got the price is well above the 23-day moving average, or at least 2 standard deviations above. You can see the volume has come down significantly from where it was only a few short days ago. We got 377 million shares were traded. Now, if we look at what we got in terms of sentiment, we've been bullish for quite a while. It looks like since the 2nd of October, which is nice to me because it tells me that right here, the 2nd of October, even in my own indicator, this is a great time to start getting long. And when I think about it, I'm going to go all the way over my signals. The big thing for me is that you see that on my traditional big board here, essentially what we have is a buy signal, a big bull, and a small bull. But the most important thing to me, and this is going to be here on the third, is going to be this 1 month bull trigger. The reason why 1 month bull trigger is a big deal to me is because it's a combination of multiple factors. But what I like about this indicator is that this essentially flipped bullish at about the exact same time, and that's why I love having something that I can rely on when I'm necessarily on the road. Because this you might not realize it about this spreadsheet. It's actually quite a beast in terms of how much additional data it actually requires, as well as how much additional information or memory it takes from your actual Chrome browser. So when I look here just at what NVIDIA has been doing, I feel very comfortable with the moves that we see. I would say if we're going to go ahead and look at the actual trade range, we can see this thing pull back to the middle of the range. It could probably come back. I'd say maybe it probably could come back to 131. I wouldn't feel super uncomfortable came back to 131. The bottom of the range is probably going to come up. Let's look at the volatility. The price of volatility, the volatility here, it looks like it's peaking. We saw that it's been breaking out. The correlation continues to rise. What I imagine is we're probably going to get a rollover in the volatility. It's probably going to, you see here, these are essentially cones. They go up, they go down. We're probably going to see a rollover in the price to correlation volatility index as well, which is going to be incredibly positive, but mostly sideways. We can see we've been seeing massive volume ever since it looks like June of this year. I assume that's actually more relative to the fact that that's probably when the split happened this summer. You can see the same thing happened here on the weekly. If we go ahead and look at the overall, like just the daily sentiment, I do find it interesting that we see it kind of just like breaking out a little bit. It's up at 60%. Now, this indicator, if you watch any of my previous videos, this indicator essentially will top out at 60% and it will essentially bottom out around 40%. So 60% is a normal place you see a nice little pullback and a little bit of mean reversion. Again, we are breaking out above that 140 level that we were above earlier in the year in June. So I would expect to see a little bit of like, just selling. People who are up here who bought a lot at that time, they probably want to get out. But tell me what you think in the comments below. Are you long? Are you short? Do you like it? Do you love it? Is this even a good review? Before you go, subscribe to the New High newsletter. We send out 20 plus stocks every single Sunday before 9 a.m. It's a great newsletter to get your week started and just kind of see what I'm looking at and kind of what I use in terms of as I'm reviewing the market with my own individual model. I'll talk to you soon.